Hi there, I'm Shane Spears and welcome to another edition of Summit Scale, beaming out to you from the beautiful city of Bath in the UK. My guest today is Matt Sykes. Matt, a very warm welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Shane. Really looking forward to it.
Brilliant. For those of you that don't know him, Matt is the author of Sales Glue, a book he wrote in 2016 and one he describes as the ultimate self-help book for salespeople. He runs his sales training company, Sales Cadence, and is the host of the Sales Cadence podcast. In 2014, Matt made himself redundant from a 20-year corporate sales career to build a sales training company that focused on helping deliver not just an improvement in sales skills, but the ability to unlock the latent potential, as he calls it, he believes lies within most sales teams. And today his growing company trains sales professionals across the UK in packaging, recruitment and broadcast media industries. Wow, this is going to be good. Matt, the title of our interview today is The Traits of Ultra High Performing Sales Professionals. And we have 5 minutes for the interview. If you're ready, I'll start the clock.
Ready for it.
So what is latent potential and why do you believe most sales teams have it?
Great question. I think, Shane, if I start with the dictionary definition, of there's many, latent potential probably existing but yet to be discovered. And I think if I think back to my own corporate career, I spent almost 16 years in B2B selling. I was not really on purpose, but felt a little bit like I was just doing enough to keep above the guy or the girl behind me. And I think also back to the time when I spent 4 or 5 years as a sales director, I was looking around my team and I knew they're all good guys and girls, but I just felt we were capable of more. And so for me, latent potential is all about, we feel like we can do a bit more. And this is not a blame game, Shane. This is about supporting individuals. But sometimes when we feel it, we can't actually do anything about it because we just don't know what to do. And so latent potential for me really is about feeling it and then seeing it and being able to show people how they can, if you like, uncover it.
Right.
And so I guess my point about most teams would be, because I've experienced it myself, I work in the sales environment now as well, I see it with my clients as well, I'm reasonably confident to know that we've all got perhaps a little bit more to offer if we had that chance.
Okay. And what are the traits of ultra high performing sales professionals?
Yeah, great question again. So I guess if you asked any sales coach, they'd come up with their own ideas. For me, I think there are three. The most obvious one, Shane, would be sales skills. And the word I'd use to describe that would be ability. And it's fundamental, of course. If you're going to work in the sales industry, you've got to have a level of skill set which allows you to get people from where they are to a position where they make a decision, whether that's a yes or a no, ideally a yes. So sales skills or the word ability would certainly be one of the three. But I think the most important one of the three for me would be mindset.
Right.
And when I talk about mindset, because sometimes that's a word that can be bandied about in day-to-day language, sometimes not always understood. But when I think about mindset, I think about the fact that pretty much everything that we do comes from a thought first. We have to think about stuff before we actually do the behavior that comes after it.
Right.
And so mindset would be a crucial one, and having a really constructive mindset is super helpful. Being able to handle rejection, I guess, is something that happens quite a lot in sales. Being able to create an opportunity where you don't have rejection in the first place is always going to be driven by mindset. And then the third one, and this is one really that comes from my corporate career, is process. There's so many great things going on in the world of manufacturing that I learned over those 16, 17 years. If we bring process in, we can be more consistent with our activity. So those would be the three things: mindset, ability, and process.
Brilliant. And I mentioned in the introduction your book, Sales Glue. What's it about and why did you decide to write it?
Well, I'll tell you what it's about. It's basically a self-help book for sales professionals, Shane. And I decided to write it because I wanted that self-help myself. When I left corporate in 2014, within a couple of weeks of working in the world called self-employment, I realized this staggering thing called obscurity. Nobody knows you. And unless somebody finds you, then you've got no chance of having a conversation. If we can't have a conversation, then clearly we've got no chance of helping them buy what we've got.
Yeah.
I was struggling at that time, despite the fact, I'd reached sales director level in corporate. I didn't seem to have all of the skills relevant to allow me to progress in self-employment. So I went back to the wonderful thing called Google, and I keyed in, how do I improve my sales success? And this plethora of information came out. Some of it was hopeless. Yeah. Some of it was incredibly useful. Yeah. And so in a nutshell, I went back to Sales University. I amassed a whole load of content, spoke to a load of really helpful people, went back to remind myself of the stuff I used to do in corporate. So some great stuff there, put it all together, and I've amassed this intellectual property. And ultimately, Sales Glue is a book which feeds off that intellectual property. It's my take on the world.
Right.
But really the most important thing for anyone who is sort of thinking about buying sales books, this is a sales book which majors heavily on the mindset side of things. That's why self-help book for sales professionals.
Okay. And what's your favorite chapter?
Well, I'm going to say I love them all, but I guess the one that sticks out the most, Shane, would be chapter 6. And chapter 6 is called Rapport Building on Steroids. And it describes a time when I met somebody for the very first time at a village function. And I was working as a sales guy back in those days where one of my classic skills, which I thought I was brilliant at, was filling the space, talking too much, interrupting people, all the kind of stuff that sometimes our sales guys and girls get some bad press for. But it's a pretty awful habit. But I spent some time in this guy's company and he was incredibly what I call empathetic,
right.
Hugely understanding. If you think back to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, habit number 2, seek first to understand before being understood. He just sat there and, embraced my conversation. At the right point, started me asking me these fantastic questions. So chapter 6, rapport building on steroids. Summarize, building rapport is something that sales professionals know everything about, but without empathy, it's kind of worthless, really.
Right. Brilliant. And what's one piece of advice from Sales Glue you'd give to our listeners, our viewers?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to say chapter 4, and chapter 4 is called Build It But They Won't Come. So going back to the point I made earlier about turning on the lights and no one turning up. There's a guy in there called Peter Thompson. Some people might be quite familiar with Peter. He's a pretty prolific online marketeer.
He's been on our show.
Has he really?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, there you go then. Peter very kindly allowed me to write about him in the book and in chapter 4. And the piece of advice I'd take from Peter would be get the next click. And what get the next click really means is rather than this massive onslaught of charging out in the world and trying to sell everybody, if all we do in our exchanges, the emails that we write, the marketing that we send out, the voicemail messages that we leave, if all we're thinking to ourselves before we pick up the phone or send the email is, what am I going to do to allow that person just to get the next click, to click on the link or do something? I think that's such a powerful message, Shane. Yeah. It holds us back a little bit. It makes us more thoughtful, and it brings a lot more construct into the work that we do in terms of engaging people. So that would be the one.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Great insights, Matt. Sadly, we've come to the end of our time. Folks, for more resources, check out Matt's website, www.salescadence.co.uk. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Shane. I've loved it.
Thanks for checking out our Summit Scale podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate us and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to learn more about the work we do or are looking for a load of free resources to help with scaling your business, check out our website, www.summitleader.com.